I was 17 when my dad lost his job. Things got tight really fast. My mum started picking up extra shifts wherever she could, and eventually my dad took whatever work he could find. He ended up getting hired at a cemetery. He worked in the admin office doing mostly paperwork, overseeing funerals and locking up at night. He didn't love it, but it paid the bills. The cemetery was old, like really old, but the place itself was well kept and really peaceful. Since we only had one car, I used to pick him up most evenings. He'd finish up usually around 6, but sometimes I'd get there a bit early, especially if the weather was nice. I'd sit and read on one of the benches. I know it sounds weird, hanging out in a cemetery, but it was quiet, and I'd always lived in an apartment, so I'd never had a yard or a garden. This place kind of became my spot. Anyway, one afternoon I got there, just as the funeral was finishing, and it had started to rain, so I went to wait for my dad in his office. The place was dimly lit and smelt like old coffee and paperwork. I sat down in this creaky chair and pulled out my phone. My eyes drifted to a stack of documents on the desk, just random cemetery paperwork. Names, burial plot info, that kind of thing, but I tried not to look too closely, but I happened to notice this one picture on one of the papers. It was a man, maybe in his 50s. He had grey hair, soft features, and a very gentle expression. The name Peter stood out. It suddenly dawned on me that it was actually kind of inappropriate, and that I shouldn't be reading anything about him at all. So, out of respect, I moved away from the desk and carried on scrolling through my phone. A little while later, my dad wrapped up and we headed to the car. As we were driving down the gravel path that leads to the main gates, I saw something. A man dressed in grey, walking along one of the inner paths. He was maybe 30 feet away. I pointed him out to my dad just as the guy turned around a corner and disappeared. My dad let out this tired sigh and got out of the car. His job meant making sure that the place was empty before locking the gates, and I could tell he just wanted to get home. He jogged off in the direction we saw the man going. When he came back, he looked annoyed. There was no one there. We even went back to the office and checked the CCTV, but nothing. No one had come in and no one had left. It didn't make any sense. About a week later, I got there early again. It was warm and sunny. The place was quiet except for the low hum of a lawnmower. I remember walking to my usual bench when I saw someone already sitting there. An older man, sitting quietly, just looking off into the distance. He was deep in thought. He was dressed in grey and had neatly cut grey hair. I continued to make my way to the bench when I realised the man's face looked familiar. His gentle expression was one that I'd seen before. It was Peter, the man from the paperwork in the office. I was sure of it. I slowed down, trying to make sense of what I was seeing, when he suddenly stood up and began to walk away. I watched him turn a corner and just walk off. But it was him. It was definitely the man from the paperwork. And I was pretty sure it was the same man I'd seen the night it was raining, the one that we couldn't find. All of it started to make me feel really uneasy and confused. I sat on the bench, my hands were shaking as I pulled the book out of my bag. I kept telling myself I was being stupid, that it couldn't be the same guy. But then, straight ahead of me, just past the path, I noticed something. A gravestone with fresh flowers on it and a framed photograph. I stood up and walked towards it slowly, my heart pounding with every step, and there it was. Peter Marshall, born May 1940, died July 1995. The same face, the same photo, the same man. And in that exact moment, the sun dipped behind the clouds and the sky turned a weird heavy grey colour. It started to rain. When my dad finally showed up, I didn't say anything. I couldn't. I didn't even know how to begin. We got in the car and he started the engine, and the radio kicked on some old rock song coming over the static. I just stared out of the window, trying to hold it together. As we drove, the rain picked up. The sky kept getting darker, and my dad got out to unlock the gate. I stayed in the passenger seat, and I saw something again, movement just out of the corner of my eye. I turned my head and froze. It was Peter's face staring in at me from the other side of the window, just inches away. Blank, expressionless, and unblinking. I screamed. He didn't flinch, he didn't move. He just watched me. I squeezed my eyes shut for half a second, my breath coming in short gasps. When I looked back, he was gone. Just like that, as if he'd never been there. No footsteps and no sound, just the rain hitting the windscreen. My dad came running back to the car. As he jumped in, I was almost hyperventilating. I saw the confusion on his face, and I knew I had to explain. I told him everything. The office photo, the man on the bench. I told him about the gravestone. And I told him about the face I'd just seen looking in at me. He didn't laugh. He didn't brush it off. He just listened. And the more I talked, the more pale he got. He never said I imagined it. He never told me I was wrong. We didn't go back to check the CCTV. I never sat on that bench again. And to this day, I don't go near cemeteries.